Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrusham Tattvamasya Dilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurum Tam Namami. Nithyanandam, and welcome to one more exciting morning with sharings on the Akashic Record readings. Some of you might be feeling like what's been shared on the stage are such personal experiences participants here have been having. You may be wondering how that's applicable to your life. For example, how many human births someone has taken, or which forms of Swamiji they've been with in previous janmas, how they've served Swamiji in past lives, what they've done, where they've been, what their dreams actually mean or represent. One thing I'd like to share is that when we start to get to know one another on a deeper level like this, something Swamiji told us about years back can start to flower, and that's the Parabhakti, or the Mahabhava. Swamiji says that as we, the members of his Sangha, get to know one another more deeply, we can start to feel a greater level of Advaita with each other, more of that oneness. So when we hear the experiences others are having through Kalabhairava in these Akashic record readings, let's keep a space of openness and readiness to understand that each and every being who's following Swamiji is something much more than what we may have previously thought. When we can understand what it is, not only in this lifetime, but going into their past, that has inspired them and drawn them and brought us all together here, we can feel such a sweetness amongst ourselves. Actually, I was really happy yesterday, after the satsang, when I went for an Akashic Records reading, because that entire hall, the Chit Sabha, was packed with people. Adinavasis, Nithyananda Yogam participants, YouTube Ananda Yogam participants, visitors. For sure, when we start to understand the value and the rarity, maybe the ultimate rarity of what's happening here, we won't take this great gift from Swamiji for granted. One thing that we mentioned yesterday is that the whole cosmic archive, the whole Akashic Records opens up thanks to the grace of Kalabhairava. Here, our love, our devotion, our reverence for Kalabhairava is truly a part of our lifestyle. The worship of Kalabhairava really helps us connect not only through the form of the murti, but also when we're going for that Akashic reading. So many have shared with me that beyond the answer to their question, beyond revealing something about their past birth or their karma, or their path in this life or their fulfillment, or even answers to medical questions, family issues, difficulties with their career, so many find that their devotion to Lord Kalabhairava becomes so powerfully awakened or so powerfully deepened when they sit in front of him in these Akashic records. One thing I mentioned yesterday was that when I personally go for an Akashic Records reading, the feeling is definitely different than if I see one of the Balasants who normally reads the Akashic Records in our day-to-day life. It's a totally different being expressing. And one thing that I'd like to share with all of you, something like an insider's secret or something that we all know here in the Adheenam, but maybe that you don't know back home, is that you have absolute guarantee of confidentiality. How many people can say that when they go to a doctor or a lawyer or a counselor, that it's guaranteed their secrets will be fully kept? Of course, these professionals might sign a contract or might take a vow, But how do we know their professionalism is going to hold true? In the Akashic Records readings, there's a really mystical, really interesting reason why your confidentiality is guaranteed. And that's that the energetic expression the Balasants experience and embody when Kalabhairava lands and they can read these records is so high that afterwards you'll have to tell them what you asked, and you'll have to tell them which answer he gave through them, or they literally don't remember. What this means is that nobody should have any shyness, any hesitation, any fear of going up and asking exactly what you want answered. It's such a beautiful gift for all of us, and I hope literally all of you will get to experience it. Today, we're going to have participants share their experiences of the Akashic Records readings, but also we're going to have something I'm personally very excited about, and that's sharing about the experience from those who read the Akashic Records. So to begin with, I'd like to invite Nandita, who has read many of my records and many of the records of my friends, to share a little bit about what it's like to be in oneness with Kalabhairava and to reveal these great truths to seekers.
Nithyanandam, my name is Nandita and I'm a Balasant of Nithyananda Gurukul. So today I'm here to share with you all what it feels like to read the Akashic readings. So what it feels to be like in that oneness with Swamiji, where the whole thing is just, the whole cosmic archives just appears in front of us. So see, the whole thing is very simple. All what I do is just connect to Swamiji and just get into that oneness. And when anyone come and ask any question, the whole answer will just start appearing in golden letters, and it will be like whatever appears I'll just read out. That whole thing I'll not remember, but the only thing that which I get to enjoy is the whole space. It'll be so sweet just to have so many people come, and the more and more I read for people, I get more and more excited because there'll be some joy that will be happening in me which I'll be enjoying. Especially this whole thing was so sweet when I was reading the past lives of all the Balasants. So when each and every Balasants were coming and asking their past life, the more and more I read for each and every kid, I didn't know what was happening, but what I was reading, I was not able to remember. But the whole space, when each and every kid, their past was getting revealed, there was so much of joy that was happening in me. I was like constantly throughout the whole time where I was reading. First thing, one part, my body was getting heated, so I had to drink like liters of water. But the other side, I was not able to control my joy that was happening. So many kids, and each one living with Meenakshi and Swamiji with so many lives, and when all their past is being revealed. So that was the best part. The only thing which happens to me when I read is just the joy of seeing the whole Akashic readings. That whole space is completely different, where you just get into oneness with Swamiji. Just decide, okay, Swamiji, whatever questions they are asking, just show the answers. And when I just look at the deity of Swamiji, just before the puja, the deity will be normal. But after the puja, when I just apply that Jnana Anjan, and when I turn and look at Swamiji, suddenly there'll be like lots of golden words that will be appearing, which I have to read out for people. It will appear, and more the words appear, the joy in me, and there'll be a different kind of space altogether. I'll just enjoy the whole space and I'll read the whole Akashic readings. And the more and more this happens, the more and more that space gets stronger. And just to experience that joy, it'll be like I'll be waiting throughout just for that whole time to happen, where I can just enjoy the whole space of reading the Akashic records.
So how sweet it is to know what a joy it is for them to read the Akashic Records, because we certainly know what a joy it is for us to have the Akashic Records read. So thank you, Ma Nandita. Next, I'd like to invite Ma Nirishwarananda to share her experience.
Nithyananda. So just to give you a little bit of background of where I'm from Miami, and I'm a yoga teacher, and I've met Swamiji for the first time last year in July at the IA in Varanasi. So with that context, I wanted to share an experience I had with the Akashic readings, and those readings provided so much clarity and so much confirmation of the path that I had already been living and where I'm going. So when I first did the Akashic reading, I was like many other people, I wanted to know what past lives I had with Swamiji. I was a little hesitant because I was afraid of the answer. Maybe I didn't have any previous lives with him, or maybe I did. So I got the courage, I went to the Akashic reading and asked the question, what previous lives have I had with Swamiji? And they said, you had 2 previous lives. And I was like, okay, great, two lifetimes. And I said, so what did I do in these lifetimes? And they said, they only described one of them in that first reading, and they said, all you did, you lived with Swamiji and you manifested all of the powers. So I was like, wow, I manifested all of the powers. So I left the Akashic reading, and I was thinking, okay, so I had 2 previous lives of Swamiji. I'm here for the 3rd life. I'm not enlightened. Oh my God, hell, what am I gonna do? So I decided to go back the next day and follow up with the question, because it reminded me of the day in Sadashivoham where all of the, some of the Balasants were on stage describing their past life experience. And I remember Tattvananda explaining how he missed enlightenment because he missed the listening. And I thought, oh my God, maybe that's me. So I had to ask. And so the next day I asked, did I miss enlightenment? And if so, how? And they said, no, you didn't miss enlightenment. You attained enlightenment, and you decided to come for one more time just to live with Swamiji. Yes, and if that wasn't fulfilling enough, I left that day and I was like, okay. And then I was telling different people in Nithyananda Yogam, and they were like, whoa, and what time periods did you live with Swamiji? Were you with him when he was Meenakshi or any other form? And I was like, oh, they didn't say. So I had to go back the next day and ask. And my question to them was, what forms of Swamiji did I live with him in my past births? And they didn't give me the answer that I was expecting. All they told me was back to my 2 lives. The first life, I had the darshan of Patanjali, and that's when I started practicing yoga. And then the second life, I was living with Swamiji, spreading Swamiji through yoga. And that gave me such a click because I'm currently a yoga teacher now. Yoga just happens so easily to me. And also, I had this deep yearning. Since I met him in last year in July, this deep yearning just to be here, be with him. And they confirmed for me that my life purpose is to live with Swamiji, and that I would become an Adinavasi, and then my daughter would join the Gurukul. And I'm just so excited. And and often when I teach my yoga classes, I always tell my students, your reality is reflected on the inner space and the inner cognition you carry, right? That has a trajectory in life, and we could always change that trajectory on just by our mental setup. So after these Akashic readings, it just clicked in me at such a deep depth level that I know that my path has been confirmed and I know what I need to do. So I encourage everybody to get their Akashic readings done, because you never know what kind of depth and what kind of shift can happen to you. So thank you, Nithyananda.
Wow. I think this really puts it together nicely, because now we can understand not only what the Akashic Records reveal, but also what a healing effect and a transformative effect that has on our inner space. Next, I'd like to invite someone who is there literally every day to witness this extraordinary happening and to share it with the world through a live program, Ma Lopamudra.
Nithyanandam, my name is Lopamudra. I'm a Balasant of Nithyananda Gurukul. And I get to witness this whole Akashic reading every day. And once all the Balasants of Nithyananda Gurukul, we all even had an opportunity to go ask about the past life of all of us. And each one of us had different readings. Actually, this whole Akashic readings itself is not just what is going to happen in your future, or not just what has happened just in this life. The past is inclusive of whatever has happened in your past lives also. So we all got an opportunity to go and ask in the Akashic readings of what kind of past lives that we all had. And when I asked about my past life, I got to know that past 3 lives I was living with Swamiji, and in one of the life I was living with Meenakshi herself. And there are still physical witnesses of what all I have went through, the experiences that I had. There are physical witness that I was there in that past life. Like when I had my Akashic reading read, that time Kalabhairava told me that I was with Meenakshi in my last birth, where I was serving for her. And once while I was sitting in a very personal, intimate moment with her, she gave me a boon. And once she gave me the boon was so powerful that tears rolled out of my eyes, and it touched Meenakshi's feet. And once they touched Meenakshi's feet, they bloomed into 3 lotuses. And those 3 lotuses, in that birth itself, I took it and kept it in that Madurai Garbha Mandir. So when it was kept there, until the time Meenakshi left her body, it was there fresh, as it was kept, like as if it was kept now only. Throughout the whole time, it was fresh. And after she left her body, it turned into a stone. Even now, if you go into that Garbha Mandir, if you go inside and see, right below Meenakshi's deity, there are those 3 lotuses, which I had kept in my last birth. This is just one small revelation that I had about my my previous birth. And that brought such powerfulness in me. Like, I came to know I was really living with Meenakshi, serving her, and even so many different mystical things have happened, which is still there. The physical witness is still there. Not just me, there are so many people. One Balasants had the Akashic reading where her whole deity is carved and kept in the Meenakshi temple. Even today, if you go to the Meenakshi temple, you'll be able to see it. And like there's so many different, there's so many Balasants were serving Meenakshi, and so many people were there like as protecting Meenakshi, being in the war field with her. And the people who are having like birthmarks even now, which they had in their past birth, even now in this birth they're carrying that same birthmark. Which the people, actually when the Balasants reveal all these Akashic readings, they don't know about us, they don't know so many things about us. Who know what lotus is there in the Madurai Garbha Mandir? Even the priest there, only if they carefully notice, they'll see, because they're down a small 3 lotuses. And when the Akashic reading was revealed, it was told exactly that these 3 lotuses were there. So like this, each one of us had so many different past experiences revealed to us. And there are so many people where, like one Balasant, just by doing yoga, she built temples. So like this, and because of that, that same power is there even now, that even now she's so flexible. Any asana you give her, she'll be able to immediately do it. So like this, so many things are waiting. Like if you get to hear your past life, you will know how many mystical experiences that you're having, and how many different things are there which is locked within yourself. So this is just one aspect that I wanted to share about Akashic reading. Thank you, Nithyananda.
It's really true, actually. It's only now that we're able to see the reality of something Swamiji has been telling us all along. He's told us that in life, anything we gather, anything we achieve, anything we hold on to, it's going to be gone when we come into the next birth. All the wealth we accumulate, all the knowledge, everything that we study for, all the relationships that we form, none of that is going to come with us into the next Janma, except for the consciousness. Swamiji says that when we strive towards awakening a higher consciousness, that's the only bank balance that gets transferred into the next life's account. And when we hear stories like these, we understand that that is literally true. The connection that we make with the Master, the connection that we make with our higher being, the connections we make with all the gods and goddesses, or godels and godelesses, all of that will come with us. and how beautiful it is that we're having such powerful confirmations, even that can be physically confirmed, like those 3 lotuses at Meenakshi's feet. I can say when we go to temples now, after having these revelations, the connections we'll be able to make will be so much sweeter. Swamiji was telling us once, part of the reason human beings have difficulty connecting with the murtis is that we don't see them as living. We see them as stone. But when we can have that revelation of the connections we had with those murtis when they were physically alive, physically expressing, it's no longer going to seem just like matter. It's going to be something that really matters, something really deeply personal. I'd actually like to share one more of my own experiences because for me, one of the greatest benefits of the Akashic readings is the confirmations it's giving me about things that I've always believed, things that I've always thought were true, hoped were true, or wished were true, without any way to prove. One of the greatest things that we know about Swamiji is that he doesn't reveal anything to us. He doesn't give initiations, he doesn't describe things unless he first acid washes those. He said he puts them through a major acid test of Shastra Pramana, Apta Pramana, Atma Pramana, and then Sakshi Pramana. Only when he can find the historic reference in the Vedas and the Agamas, only when the commentary matches his personal experience, he'll give something as Sakshi Pramana, something that's reproduced in us. Now, similarly, how can we put our experiences to the test before we start sharing our experiences? The Akashic Records are a beautiful way to do that. So one of my experiences with this is that years and years ago, before I knew Swamiji, before I was practicing Hinduism, when I considered myself an agnostic seeker because I completely rejected the Christianity, the Catholicism I was born into, I knew there was something, but I didn't know what that something was. I had a really interesting dream. And in that dream, I was walking through a field when suddenly a beautiful woman, fully adorned, lots of jewels, bright-colored cloth, she appeared right next to me and held my hand. The moment she held my hand, we were suddenly in some kind of an indoor setting that looks nothing like any room I've seen in this life. And from the ceiling, a huge stone slab descended. While holding my hand, she told me, "Look into that stone slab." So I looked at it, and suddenly imagery appeared more realistic than an IMAX 3D movie. It was like literally a new world opened up on that slab. And I could see 2 horses with girls riding them, horseback riding. Then I could see one young girl wearing traditional Indian dress, firing arrows, like shooting a bow and arrow off the horse, hitting the target. I could see these girls dancing together. I could see them doing all kinds of things together, from arts to cultural programs. And then I woke up. Like I usually do when I have some kind of interesting, vivid, full-color dream, I wrote the details down. Then years later, in 2012, when Swamiji was in Madurai Adheenam, for the first time I heard him describe the technology of Madurai, the technology Meenakshi had access to and would utilize. And of course, one of those technologies is the stone slab. Swamiji explained that in those days, every home in Madurai, every home in her queendom, had a stone slab. And when she had some message to communicate to someone, she would express herself through that stone slab in a photorealistic, 3-dimensional, vivid, almost like a hologram detail. As he was explaining that, I just started shaking, thinking, my God, maybe that was Meenakshi in my dream. So in a recent Akashic Records reading, I asked Kalabhairava about that experience. I didn't give it any specific detail. I didn't mention that there were 2 girls riding horseback together or 2 girls dancing together. I just said that I had a dream where a woman appeared before me, took me to a room, a stone slab appeared, and I saw scenes from a life. I asked, was that Meenakshi? The answer that came through was that yes, that was Meenakshi, and that in that birth, when she was alive, we were childhood best friends, and that she had revealed that to me. So the scene of these 2 girls horseback riding together, the scenes of them dancing together, suddenly it made sense beyond what I would have imagined. He went into further detail and said that in that life, when I conceived, when I had 2 children, that's when she realized her avataric mission. And I started doing personal seva to her, so washing her feet, feeding her, putting her to bed at night. I just started to cry. It was such a huge feeling of fulfillment, because I think so many of us who feel that connection with Swamiji, that's something that we're yearning for, that personal closeness, that personal connection. When the Akashic Records reveal for us that we've done something in the past that we maybe aspire to in this birth or yearn for in this birth, it can be such a huge healing. We'll realize that literally what we want, we've already had. So next, to share something that he wanted that we know he's already had, I'd like to invite Sri Nithyananda.
Hello. So about a week back, I asked a question to the Balasants, and I was like, can you provide me an extraordinary spiritual truth about a past life? And then the answer that I got back from Kalabhairava was, in a past life, you were connected to Swamiji, and you were able to express all the 400 powers. And when he said that, that really, I felt like a deep shock in my being, and he just told me I just need to have the utmost integrity with Swamiji. And then I asked, okay, well, how do I do that? And he said to don't miss the morning routine. So I just got to maintain, I have to maintain that with Swamiji, and the biomemory will just reawaken in me for me to express all the 400 powers. And then I asked, at a different reading, I asked, what is the purpose of my birth? And that is to be blissful and to live around Swamiji. So I'm thinking that sannyas is my path for me to express all the 400 powers. And then I asked, I was going through a very deep incompletion with my father, and before I went to India, I didn't tell my dad, and he found out from a family member that I'm in India already, and I asked, how do I complete with my dad? And then what I got back was to call him now, and I was like, wait, do I call him now, like now? And he said, yes, you have to call him now. And I didn't do it. I didn't follow the instructions from Kalabhairava, and I didn't go back to Akashic readings for a while because I was so incomplete that I abused Kalabhairava, and I was not able to connect to the Murti at the front gate. He was not letting me connect to him at all, and in fact, it was a burning sensation, and I was really uncomfortable in my inner space because I abused Kalabhairava. So if you go to Akashic readings, be very sure that what you're going to ask is something that you want to really fulfill. And don't abuse Lord Kalabhairava, or else you will suffer his wrath. And but if you're willing to align to his instructions, then you'll have the most abundance and blessings bestowed upon you. So, and then actually, I don't want to leave that unfulfilled. I actually went back to him, and then I actually did my completion with Kalabhairava, and I did call my dad about a week back, and I was going through so much anxiety, and my heart was really trembling because the incident with my father was really terrible. And I just, expressed from my heart, and then my dad was like, he was perfectly fine with what happened. And then he said, Jordan, I love you, and when are you coming back home? And I told him the date, and he said, I miss you, I'm waiting for you, to come back home, I love you, and then that was it. And I felt the presence, from Swamiji with me the whole entire time, so it was so much ease, throughout the conversation. And that's all I want to share about the Akashic readings. Thank you.
How amazing. Actually, what we sometimes perceive as wrath, it's just a very intensified, like a compounded form of compassion. So when we come face to face with Lord Kalabhairava himself, he knows what's best for us beyond what we could possibly think is good for us. So if he gives an instruction that brings up some anxiety or that brings up some fear, and then we fail to fulfill it, sometimes we might feel incomplete with him. But one thing that I've learned by living around Swamiji and seeing the way he trains people, seeing the way he relates with people, is that any incompletion we might feel, any incompletion we might project on him or on Kalabhairava, it's never a mutual incompletion. So we might feel badly like we've abused the space or we've failed to follow the instruction, but ultimately, the space is always kept open for us. That door is always there to complete. And when we complete, it's not like the blessing gets withdrawn. Whatever is the highest experience for us, whatever is the greatest conclusion to whatever episode we're going through, it's going to happen. So I'm so glad Dattananda shared this experience about his father. It shows what a deep healing Kalabhairava can give, even to people who don't know the reading happened. I've had so many of my friends here share experiences of rivalries or competitions or fights that they've had with their relatives or with their friends back home. Kalabhairava blesses that the relationship will evolve, that the negative feelings will subside, that the people will be able to reestablish their friendship, reestablish their connection. And amazingly, without anyone physically telling that other person, their space of listening just opens up and that love starts to flow. So don't be afraid to come to Kalabhairava, and even if you think you won't be able to follow his instructions, just make a strong sankalpa. Make a strong intention that you'll be able to follow through on what he tells you to do, and you'll be able to do it. So next, I'd like to invite Ma Maha Ishwaryananda.
Nithyananda, my name is Ma Nithya Maha Ishwaryananda. I would like to share with you one of my most amazing experiences with Akashic record reading. Back in 2016, in March, I asked for my Vedic astrology, and the astrologer is a well-known person. He told me that I'm going to give birth to an enlightened baby boy in my late 30s, and that this boy, the father of this boy is a master, a guru, or a teacher. So I was very happy with the fact that he could see this in my chart, and he, at least 5 times, he repeated that if I choose for this path, the boy will be an enlightened, beautiful boy. So after that, Swamiji opened the gates to Akashic record reading, and my first question to the Balasant, it was Prema Sarupa Maharaj who was reading my Akashic records that day. So I didn't want to give too much hint to him. I was wondering what he sees in my records. So I asked him, do you see any children or child in my Akashic record in this lifetime? And then he looked at the Atma Murti of Swamiji, and in a few seconds he looked at me, and he told me that I'm going to give birth to an enlightened baby boy who will revive the Sanatana Hindu Dharma with Swamiji. That day I felt really fulfilled and completed because somehow I could see my path, especially next to Swamiji. So I was very happy with this reading. But then Swamiji, one of the satsangs, he mentioned, he was talking about the Gurukul school, and he mentioned that if you have 4 children, then give me 2, and he will make a new species from those children. So then I was thinking, one child, then it's not enough. I would like to have more children, and I would like to give more children to Swamiji and to the Gurukul school. So the Sadashivoham program arrived, and the last day we could go for a Kalpataru Darshan. And then I wrote to Swamiji that Akashic record reading so that I'm going to have one enlightened boy who will revive the Sanatana Hindu Dharma next to Swamiji. So I would like to have more children so I can give Swamiji more children. And he blessed my wish. And the next day there was Akashic record reading, so I was really excited to see what has changed in my future. So I went to the reading and I asked the Balasants, can you see any children in this lifetime that I give birth? And then again he looked at Swamiji's Atmamurti and then he said, yes, you are going to have 2 children. So it was quite amazing because the Kalpataru Darshan, whatever you wish from Swamiji, actually it really comes true. And the Akashic, so your future is directly rewrite. So that was my amazing experience with Akashic. Thank you.
No matter how many stories we hear like this, where Swamiji blesses us with a boon, and then we go to the Akashic Records and have that fully confirmed by Kalabhairava, it never gets old. So if any of you feel like there's something that's been predicted for you in your future by some psychic or some astrologer or some palm reader, if you want to change it, now you know how. Last but certainly not least, I'd like to invite someone who has read many of my own Akashic Records and I've had some awesome experiences with. First, I want to just share one of those experiences. A lot of you know that I'm having a program here where I'm training people who want to start their own YouTube channels. And in that program, we're covering everything from sharing a story to working in Swamiji's teachings in a way that can enrich others and, of course, cause others, how to upload, all of those points. For that, obviously, a camera is required. And for a few days, I wasn't able to find my video camera. And so I went to an Akashic Records reading, and I sat in front of Sri Nithyananda Maharaj, and I asked, where is my lost camera? As soon as he looked at Swamiji's murti and started to read the Akashic Records, he explained that a long time back, before I came here, I had one camera, and that it is now left in the home of someone who has Mary in her name. I was thinking back and thinking back. One of my aunts, her name is Mary Lynn. The way that it's written, it looks like Mary is her only name because the 2 words are separate. Mary, then a separation, then Lynn. The fact that Kalabhairava said Mary is a part of the name shows that what everyone always assumes is her first name came up. And again, with the detail that there's still more to the name than just that. That alone, I think, was amazing for me because I've never spoken about my relatives' names when I'm here. Besides that, when I was a kid, I had a camera that I gave to my Aunt Mary Lynn to use in her classroom. She's a school teacher. And a while later, I realized I had still left it there, but I just left it because I didn't need it back. So the reading that he revealed first was something that I could never have possibly shared with anybody here because I haven't even thought of it in years. I explained afterwards that that is definitely true, but that I've also lost a video camera, and I described it's a Sony Handycam. He immediately said, there are 2 cameras like that in this Adheenam. And I knew, of course, because I have 2 Sony Handycams, one that's lost, one that's not lost. So I said, one of them is with my things in my room. Where's the other one? And he looked and he described that it could be in 2 possible places, either the dorm or the welcome center. Later on, I found that one of my friends had kept it in her purse and forgotten to tell me. And that day, she had gone into the dorm, and right after the dorm, she had gone to the welcome center exactly at the time that the reading happened. So sure enough, when I found that lost camera, it was exactly where he said it would be. And we have so many experiences like this. In the outer world, if we lose something, we have to search everywhere, retrace our steps, go through all kinds of song and dance to try to get it back. Here, we get to do something that Swamiji has told us to do. He said, Sadashiva likes to be overused. He's here and he's available. So when you have a problem, don't try to deal with it yourself. Don't try to solve it yourself. Go first to him, because there's always a spiritual solution to everything. So I just wanted to share that to give a little context that I've personally experienced the readings he gives, that Kalabhairava gives through him. And now I'd like to invite Sri Nitya Sundareshwarananda Maharaj.
Nithyanandam. My name is Sri Nitya Sundareshwarananda, and I'm studying in the Nithyananda Gurukul for the past 6 years now. And I've been one of the Balasants who've been blessed by Swamiji, who's been initiated into the various powers of Sadashiva, and is being able to manifest the different powers like the other Balasants also. And like how the story was going about cracking coconuts, fixing them together, rolling them out. Now, the thing is that it doesn't, like, we all know that Swamiji doesn't stop with something, one particular thing. And even though we think that it might take little time for us to move on to the next thing, he is much, much, much faster than what we can ever think of. So just like how I said, before we could move on, or like anybody could even grasp breaking coconuts and fixing them together, he has already initiated us into the next powers of being able to materialize different things all over the place. So being one of the Balasants who has been blessed by Swamiji to be able to materialize, I just want to share a quick experience on what happened yesterday. So Swamiji initiated me into the science of materialization day before yesterday, and he just told me that choose 10 things you want to materialize and just connect with me and give the instruction. You will see everything materializes in just 21 minutes. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And I just penned down a whole list. And then he said, okay, let all this materialize. And immediately after 21 minutes, I called different people and I found out that everything was materialized, and immediately I got the pictures of it. So that was the first breakthrough. Then yesterday when it came about, I was like thinking, okay, so Swamiji told every day you keep doing it, manifest different things, materialize different things. So yesterday again I wrote down a whole list of things, and then I told them, let us materialize it. And one set of things, what happened was in the temple actually, yesterday there are two things which happened. One, materialization which happened before the Alankar. Second, materialization which happened after the Alankar. So what happened was, I materialized like Kumkum, Vibhuti, Chandan and Abhishekam powder, these 5 things on the deities before the Alankar. So during the Alankar, I told the people who did the Alankaram in the temple that wipe away everything. Check all this, completely wipe the deities so that nothing is there. Take the pictures of the deities and send it to me. And one of the priests from there, he took all those photos and sent it to me. Then I told, start the timer exactly within 21 minutes. I sent him the list of what all are going to get materialized, which body part is going to get materialized. And exactly 21 minutes later, I got a call from him telling that all these things have materialized in different places of the deities. So you can now see it on the screen. So you can now see on the screen the different types of things which materialized. Like the one you are seeing on the screen is Vibhuti on Dakshinamurti's feet. So just one thing which I wanted to share with all of you is that if any of you think, I'm sure that all of you will think this, that if ever we should have lived like the Balasants of the Nithyananda Gurukul. And if you are a parent and you have children, and if you are a child and watching me speak about all this, the best thing you could do to yourself or give it to your child is have them part of the Nithyananda Gurukul. See, various schools are present so much of things that you come to the school, you're a top ranker, you come to this, you get into a college seat directly. But after getting all that, what are you going to do? Work as clerks for somebody? But here, nothing of those. Just sit with Swamiji, manifest the powers, live your life the way you want, manifest whatever you want. What other life can you have other than this in this planet Earth? So welcome all the kids and all the parents who have children to come to the Nithyananda Gurukul and live and manifest the life of Sadashiva as initiated by Swamiji into all of you. Thank you.
So we have a few more pictures of some of these materializations. And I think the amount of vibhuti that we can see there on the cloth is just spectacular. It's also awesome that Sundareshwara Maharaj is friends with, knows the people who do the Alankaram, and could get the absolute proof by seeing the photo first, showing that the deity doesn't have any of these substances, then showing that it's there. And I can't wait to see how much further Swamiji takes all of these initiations, all of these powers that are manifesting. If you're wondering what's the first step you can take, how you can get started on this journey, this coming Sunday, January 15th, we're having a program called Shuddhadvaitam, Gateway to Extraordinary Powers. During this program, Swamiji himself is going to give the answers that we've all been wondering about. How does this all happen? What does it all lead us to? How is it related to our enlightenment? And much, much more. So I'm personally really looking forward to this. I think all of us here, we're excited and just can't wait to hear Swamiji explain to us what these powers are and what's next. So please do join us for that. Let's all share in this extraordinary happening of the manifestation of powers and the creation of a new species. Thank you all for watching this morning, and I look forward to sharing more. And to those who are here in Bengaluru Adheenam, I think now we'll all be extra excited to start preparing for the next live sharing. So don't miss the Akashic Records readings, because we're given such a great opportunity to have the revelations from Kalabhairava himself. It's something that literally nowhere else on the planet Earth does this exist. Really, we are beyond blessed. So for all of you at home, tune in on Sunday. That's at 9:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time to Shuddhadvaitam, the Gateway to Extraordinary Powers. Nithyanandam. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Satguru Padukarpanamastu. Om Nithyanandam